A short history for useful idiots. History of an alliance between the left and Islamism. This is well worth a small thread. Any resemblance to current events is perhaps not coincidental. 40 years ago, the Iranian Communist Party, the Tudeh, stood alongside the Islamists during the protests that launched the Iranian Revolution. The Tudeh was one of the most important communist parties in the Middle East. Having great influence in intellectual and working class circles, an ally of circumstance with the Islamists at the time of the revolution, he was at the origin of the first demonstrations which brought down the Shah. In October 1977, the 10 nights, which marked the beginning of the protests, were a succession of literary and poetic evenings, transformed into political platforms, organized at the German Cultural Institute in Tehran. There were 15,000 people every night, and only 500 Islamists, says Mo, a Tudeh activist. These Islamist groups were not taken seriously. They had a very low level of socio-economic understanding. In 1979, the Tudeh's striking force and influence made it indispensable to the Islamists in bringing down the Shah. For their part, the communists identified with the revolutionary and third world discourse of the charismatic Khomeini. When the Ayatollah landed in Tehran on February 1, 1979, cheered by the crowd, the Tudeh officially recognized him as the leader of the revolution. They then thought they could easily manipulate him. In the months preceding the Shah's flight, doubts arose in the ranks of the Tudeh as to Khomeini's true intention. Iraj Eskandari, the party's first secretary, advocated an alliance with secular forces. He was dismissed from his post in January 1979. As early as 1980, Khomeini got rid of his closest allies, the liberal Islamists, considered counter-revolutionaries, before attacking the parties. Thousands of senior officials and high-ranking officers were executed. The entire left applauded these mass executions. The Tudeh soon suffered Islamist repression in turn. Khomeini became aware of the party's penetration of the country's institutions. A campaign of repression and mass execution was unleashed against the communists. In February 1983, the Tudeh was banned.
Show him your sign.
That's a little kid at an anti-fascism protest in London holding a sign that says,
F off Nazis, F off Nazis.
Hate speech breeds actions of hate, right?
So to be fair though, this says F off Nazis. Do you think there's a bit of a double standard at play?
I feel like it's my basic duty as a British citizen to say that I stand against racism. Refugees are welcome here, and no far-right group has any place in British society.
Let all the refugees in, let all the asylum seekers in, because we caused the wars, we were to blame for it, so let's let them come here and look after them like we deserve to.
As a people, as humanity, we've only got one world. Racism exists. I've had some of it myself growing up, and it seems to be getting worse again.
This is Britain, this is where we want to be. Look on that side. All basically white men and women standing together, being racist together.
Tell me how they're fascists. Can you explain?
I don't really want to talk to him.
Why is that?
Because I don't want to talk to the press.
Why?
Because I have no reason and you should stop interviewing.
You seem a little untrustworthy.
Why is that? Just
News in general, like.
Alright, I'm a guy with a YouTube channel.
Right.
Alright, can I see what this is? The Socialist Workers' Party?
I'm trying to pull people away from the far right.
Okay.
Trying to mobilise the side against Tommy Robinson.
Why are you here, Roshi? What do you feel about Tommy Robinson?
I want to eat him. He is a big fat dick.
He wants to eat him because he's a big fat dick.
Under the pro-Palestinian banner, we see a strange alliance of ultra-conservative theocrats and far-left woke progressives. Although they are diametrically opposite on how they believe the world should be, they are united in their common hatred against the West, and in total agreement that the current state of the world is evil and should be taken down. The Islamists see the world this way due to Islamic theological narratives. The far left woke type of people see this world this way due to intellectual and character deficiencies. Okay, that's why me and many others call them useful idiots.
The radical left is not a viable political alternative. It's a logical fallacy. Radical leftists often lack the intellectual depth to grasp the full picture. Whether due to the influence of Marxist ideology, intellectual laziness, ignorance, or character flaws, they tend to develop a specific pattern of reasoning that is both predictable and flawed. This rationale can be easily identified and dissected.
The 13 Commandments of the Radical Left.
1.
You shall serve ideas, not people.
2.
You should judge people according to identity, not merit.
3.
You should seek equity, not equality.
4.
The underdog is always right.
5.
Anybody who disagrees with you has evil motives.
6.
You deserve to be fascist to shut down fascists.
7.
If reality contradicts your ideology, reality must be false.
8.
The proletarians have no agency and can only be victims.
9.
Human behavior is exclusively explained by oppressed versus oppressor narratives. Teleology alone explains human behavior.
10.
Behind all social phenomena, there are people in the shadows conspiring. These people are never from your group or allies.
11th.
Do revolution for the sake of revolution. Being a revolutionary is a noble character trait, not a means to an end.
12th.
Make emotional arguments. Aim at the heart, not the mind.
13.
Discredit personalities and you win the argument.
I think it is more honest and historically correct to say that the uprising of October 7th was an act of armed resistance. It is not a terrorist attack, and it's not an anti-Semitic attack. The violence done to Palestinians has been happening for decades. This was an uprising that comes from a state of subjugation and against a violent state apparatus.
Hamas is not a terrorist group.
Oh, it isn't, ma'am.
First of all, Hamas is not a terrorist group.
Hamas
is not a terrorist group.
What is it, like a motorcycle club? Or?
It is a resistance.
Okay, let us be clear. Now, you can be for or against armed resistance, you can be for or against Hamas, but let us at least call it armed resistance, and then we can have a debate about whether we think it's right or whether they did the right thing.
When Hamas is talking about eliminating Israel, it's talking about not killing all of the Jews. It's about eliminating the idea.
Okay.
It's about...
Leave it there. We'll leave it there. We'll leave it there.
It's about, let me just finish, sir. Can I just finish the sentence? It's about eliminating the idea of a Jewish state. Ending a Jewish state, ending an ethno-national state, and having a state more like what we have in the United States of America.
The problem is, if you call it armed resistance, you are immediately thought to be in favor of armed resistance and in favor of that armed resistance and that tactic. It's like, well, actually, maybe not that tactic, and we can discuss armed resistance. You know, it is an open debate.
This institution is a training ground.
It's a training ground
For the ruling class.
For the ruling class.
And the students have messed up its plan.
Has messed up its plan.
AKA the place.
AKA the place.
Where Zionists decided to raid.
Where Zionists decided to raid.
Next to a concentration camp.
Next to a concentration camp.
That's exactly what this music festival was.
What's happening still have dreams, and we have to try and show that these people are not just expendable. They have got lives. They are people that are worth saving. Unlike the Zionists, there is no way back for them. They have done so much cruelty and hatred that they need to actually be finished.
And so we're not just here out of sympathy because it's disgusting to watch and we feel bad and we feel sick. We are here to fight. We are here in solidarity. We are here with the Palestinian people. We are here to struggle.
Till 18 years old. And let me tell you something. We do not condemn
any resistance towards the liberation of Palestine.
Similarly, I think, yes, understanding Hamas, Hezbollah as social movements that are progressive, that are on the left, that are part of a global left, is extremely important. That does not stop us from being critical of certain dimensions of both movements.
This is Judith Butler, a leftist philosopher that just said, understanding that Hamas and Hezbollah are progressives and part of the global left. Before that, in the clip you just saw, a radical leftist student said, and I quote, "Fuck the Nova Music Festival, aka the place where Zionists decided to rave next to a concentration camp. These people have reached a disgusting mental and moral disintegration and are beyond decent intellectual discourse. Just like the jihadists, the liberal jihadists are rogue, dogmatic sociopaths who deserve to be in a mental asylum instead of preaching morality. Just like the jihadists, the liberal jihadists share the same obsessive, occupied hatred against our societies, and they would like to see the downfall of our societies. They both share the same obsessive, occupied hatred against the current state of this world. Radical leftists hate the Western free world because of a combination of ignorance, stupidity, Marxist type of ideology, and character deficiencies. And on top of that, they suffer from savior or self-righteousness delusions that makes them even more unhinged and toxic. This one-step mental process, shallow, self-righteousness, delusive buffoons, see revolution not as a means to an end, but as something they want to include to their CV, like things to do before I die. Go to the university, go a road trip to the Grand Canyon, marry and make family and make my small revolution when I was a student. So my kids will know in the future how noble I was. So they jump in the wagon of the hip revolution of their time. Once it was Vietnam, when these traitors forced USA to lose the war, and the communists executed 200,000 Vietnamese as a response. In response. Okay, then the oops people said oops and moved on. Went to have a macchiato in the cafeteria. Okay, this is what they did. Okay, so the hippies in Woodstock, after taking an LSD, they made their small revolution. Hearing music. Okay, when the small revolution ended to 200,000 Vietnamese die, being executed by the communists, what did these people do? They care? No. They scratched their balls, eat the next LSD, and continue dancing. That is what these people did. They admire great revolutionaries like Che Guevara, who made the revolution in Cuba, without ever being to Cuba right now to see how that worked out. The same oops people who make revolution and then move on to other adventures, no surprisingly, destroyed also Iran. Iran being a perfect parallel of what will happen to Israel if these people have their way.
Horowitz, and there are protests breaking all across the country on our campuses. These are people who purport to support the Palestinians, but in reality, they simply have a base hatred for Israel. They also have a hatred for the United States. So I'm here on the campus of City College of New York, where there's an encampment and a protest. I'm simply going to go into the middle. I'm going to wave the American flag without saying a word. Let's see what happens. Don't touch me! American! American! I'm an American. Hey, give my flag! Whoa. Hey, give my flag! What the fuck, man? Whoa. Hey! It's America! What the fuck, man? Oh, don't fucking hit me! Get out of here! Get out of here! No, get out of here! No, I'm not. Get out of here! Get out of here! Hey! Get out of here! Get out of here!
The poppy has been adopted by the right wing, by racists. It's worn by war criminals like Tony Blair and all these sorts. I mean, what, I'm supposed to wear something alongside him? The murder of innocent people.
Moses was not a Jew. Moses was a Muslim. Jesus was not a Jew. He was a Muslim.
Between 1776 and 2019, the US carried out over 392 military interventions worldwide, killing millions in the process and condemning many millions more to a life of agony and despair. A new world is struggling to be born. A phoenix will rise from the embers of empire in Gaza.
You guys, I need to talk to you about something super serious, and it's this right here. Like, burning the American flag. It's just, wallahi, it's a beautiful sight, but it's not enough. We need to burn down every capitalist and imperialist system that exists. We need to burn the US government, aka global terrorist organization, down to the fucking ground. We can no longer allow the worst, most violent, evil, disgusting people to lead us, because they're going to continue making the world a waking nightmare.
The future of Islam in the West.
Alhamdulillah, the future is ours. Islam's going to spread. There's no doubt to it. The West is West, East, North, South, all going to be Muslim. Yeah. Right? I have absolutely no doubt to that. The only question is, Rami, are me and you going to be a part of that, or are we going to be on the sidelines?
London is going through a theft epidemic. Some people, when they look at the rules in the Sharia, they may think, this is so harsh. Why does the Sharia allow for this? Chopping the hand of the thief off. What they don't realize is these rulings are there as deterrents for society from committing such crimes.
So I think we shouldn't exaggerate. But I think there is a narrative that Melanie, I must say, has been portraying over the years, that, you know, this idea that the Muslims are taking over and Sharia law is, you know, creeping Sharia law.
I mean, I just see them as potential Muslims. You know, that's like, you know, I see a pub as a future mosque. That's what I'm here to do. You know, not to keep this country, not to be a minority in this country, in a non-Muslim majority country. I want this country to become Muslim, obviously through a process of da'wah and not through violence or anything like that.
You know, this idea that the Muslims are taking over and Sharia law is, you know, creeping Sharia law.
America is the cancer. America, the American government, secularism, democracy, capitalism, these are cancers that have spread their illness all over the world. In America and in the Middle East. In America over here, people have the freedom to, again, like I said before, commit zina, do all this fahisha, but when you speak up, it's a problem.
Isn't real. I don't believe isn't real is a real place. I believe it's an American colony made up by the United States of America so they can kill brown people and steal their land under the guise of it technically being a different country, but it's actually just the United States in sheep's clothing, because that's all the United States of America has ever done since its inception, is kill brown people and steal their land.
Fighting innocence is prohibited regardless of their faith. The Quran makes it clear that men and women are equal before God and before the law. If there are any abuses against women that are cultural practices in Muslim countries, they contradict Islamic teachings. Islam guarantees the freedom of non-Muslims to practice their faith as well as protection for their places of worship.
So here they're bringing two retired generals in to rehash a horrific war in Afghanistan that we should have never been in, and instead we should be having a hearing on the horrific massacre that's going on right now in Gaza.
We provide the bombs to blow up all the kids.
Lockheed Martin provides weapons to defend Israel from the vicious ongoing jihad, a jihad that seeks to eliminate the only Jewish state for Allah's cause, create in its place a terrorist state that will pave the way to a caliphate to further the jihad against the rest of the world.
And we provide the engines used by the fighter jets to drop the bombs on all the kids.
Israel, unlike the terrorists, Rathbone supports via his non-comedy propaganda. It is not targeting children. It targets terrorists who hide their war machine behind children.
We've expanded Israel's surveillance apparatus and provide servers and IT support to the IDF so they can continue murdering brown kids.
The claim the war on Gaza is because of racism is ridiculous, and only highlights the anti-Semitism of bigots like Rathbone.
By the tens of thousands. I'm sorry, I mean junior militants, excuse me. And we established technological hubs in the occupied territories. And we built this fucking thing. Isn't it amazing? Look at that marvelous structure. The apartheid wall is our crowning achievement.
The so-called apartheid wall was made during the Second Intifada, in which Palestinian terrorists claimed the lives of about 1,000 Israelis, with indiscriminate terrorist attacks on civilians. The wall since then saved many Israeli lives from similar jihadist terrorist attacks. Rathbone and other useful idiots from the radical left want to expand the Intifada, a violent uprising to the rest of the world.
Hey!